In this last part of this chapter, and the last part of this lecture as well, we're going to be discussing what's called the Doppler effect. And the Doppler effect predicts that our measurement of the wave frequency will change if either the source is moving relative to us or we're moving relative to the source. And this effect is familiar from our everyday experience. So if you've ever stood near a train track and the train is coming towards you, you're familiar with that high-pitched frequency that you hear as the train approaches, and then the lower pitch frequency as the train moves away from you. So it's the familiar as the train goes by, or you may have heard that when a car is blowing its horn and passes by. And it's this Doppler effect which we wish to study. And the idea is illustrated in these two pictures. In the picture on the left, we have a stationary source, and there the wave crests emanate out equally in all directions and maintain their constant spacing, and that's indicated with the lambda knot that's shown in these images. In the image on the right, the source is moving with the speed from left to right, and Nancy, who stands in front of the source as the source is approaching her, is going to experience wave crests which are bunched up closer together, and that will correspond to a higher frequency pitch that she hears. And the reason they bunch up is that the source is catching up to the previously emitted waves as it moves in the forward direction. And these ideas can be illustrated a variety of ways. So I'm first going to take us to a video just so that we can hear the Doppler effect. In this video, instructor has a horn that they're going to sound on their bike, and we'll first hear the pitch of the horn when the bike is at rest, and then he'll begin pedaling the bike so that we'll hear the Doppler effect. So there's that familiar high-pitched sound as the bike approaches us, and then the lower-pitched sound as the bike moves away, and so that's that Doppler effect sound. And the second simulation I want to show is that of an animation. And in this animation, there's a source indicated by the red dot on the left side of the screen, and we can control the speed of the source. And so I'm first going to turn the speed of the source down to 0, and then I'll click play. And what we see here being emitted are the crests of the sound wave emanating outward uniformly in all directions. And so this shows the expected even distribution of wave crests. And then I'm going to play it again, and this time I'm going to set the source in motion. And what we see now is that effect which causes the Doppler effect, which is that the source is catching up to the previously emitted waves. So in front of the source, the crests are closer together, and that's perceived as a higher pitch sound. And behind the source, the crests are further apart, corresponding to a lower pitch sound. The last demonstration I'm going to show is of an actual demonstration using a sound box that I have that generates a single tone, and I'm going to create the Doppler effect by spinning the sound box above my head. So we'll go to that now. So what I've got here is a tone generator, and when I click the button, you hear that high pitch sound. So it's got a frequency that it's emitting the tone at. And what I'm going to do is swing this box over my head. So I've attached it to a string, and see if you can hear the Doppler effect. So hopefully you can hear that when it's coming towards you over on my right, it's higher pitched, And when it's moving away from you on my left, it's lower pitch. So coming towards you, high frequency. Moving away from you, lower frequency. That's the Doppler effect. So now that we have a feel for what the Doppler effect represents conceptually, we want to introduce a quantitative formula to calculate the value of the frequency that we obtain when either the source is moving away from us or towards us. And also, we can get a similar type of Doppler effect occurring when the detector or the observer is moving relative to the source. And so we introduce an equation here that covers these different cases where either the source is moving or the detector is moving or both. And it allows us to calculate the frequency that the observer will hear if the original frequency at the source is F0. And so this equation is derived in the text. I won't go through its derivation here, and I am expressing it in this slide in a more condensed form than you'll see in the text. But I think this condensed form is useful because it allows us to use just this one equation for any case that we might experience instead of having a set of separate equations. And so what's contained in this equation are the symbols B sub d, which represents the speed of the detector. B sub s represents the speed of the source. V is the speed of sound in the medium. So in air, for example, at room temperature, that'd be the 343 meters per second. And then the plus or minus sign is chosen so that the frequency increases when the detector and source are moving towards each other, or decreases when they're moving apart. And I'll illustrate with an example how we would go about choosing whether we should select the positive sign or the negative sign when we're doing our calculation using this equation. So in this example, it's an example describing the demonstration that was just shown, and it says a physics professor demonstrates the Doppler effect by tying a 600 hertz sound generator to a 1 meter long rope and whirling it around her head in a horizontal circle at 100 revolutions per minute. So pictorially, we've got a sound box that I'll show in one position here. And this will be a bird's eye view looking down at the sound box. The radius of the circular path is determined by the length of the rope. So R is equal to 1 meter. And the revolutions per minute represents the rotation frequency, which is omega, and omega then is equal to 100 revolutions per minute. And this is non-SI units. We need to convert that to rad per second. So in 1 minute, there's 60 seconds. And in 1 revolution, there's 2 pi radians. So this will give us, simplifying, we'd have 10 over 6 times 2 pi, or 20 pi over 6 radians per second, which is 10 pi over 3 radians per second. So that's the angular speed of the revolutions of the sound box. And then we're told that the sound generator generates a frequency of 600 hertz, which would be F0 in the equation that we're about to use for the Doppler effect. So that would be the frequency of the actual tone emitted by the sound generator. And now we're imagining that this sound is heard by a student in the classroom, And the question is, what are the highest and lowest frequencies heard by a student in the classroom? So we're looking for F high and F low. And those two frequencies will occur at the extreme points in the motion of the sound box. So if we imagine the audience, the students are sitting out here, then the highest pitch sound is going to be heard when the sound box is coming towards them, and the lowest pitch sound is going to occur when the sound box is moving away from the students, and this would be the speed of the source. And on the right side then corresponds to the high pitch frequency that the students are going to hear, and on the left side that would be the low pitch frequency. And the students are acting as the detectors, and they're presumed to be at rest, and so their speed is equal to 0. So now we bring out the Doppler effect equation, which says that we can calculate the frequency heard by the students as F naught times V, the speed of sound in the medium, plus or minus the speed of the detectors, divided by V plus or minus the speed of sound. And the speed of the detectors, the students, is 0. So this equation is going to simplify. And now what we want to do is apply this equation 2 times, one to determine the high pitch frequency and the other to determine the low pitch frequency. And so we'll first focus on the high pitch frequency. And to figure that out, what I know is the high pitch frequency is going to require F to be higher than F naught. And the way to achieve this is to choose the negative sign in the denominator so that the denominator becomes small, and that will give us an F value which is greater than F naught. So writing this out, I need F to be greater than F naught, and that means F high is going to be equal to F naught V over V minus V sub S. And then V is the speed of sound in air. So that illustrates how to choose the negative or the positive sign. We do it based on what we know intuitively, that if the source is moving towards us, then the pitch has to go up. Therefore, I should choose the negative sign over the two possibilities there. And then to figure out the speed of the source, which is the last piece of this equation that we need, we would make use of a relationship from Physics 1, which relates linear quantities to angular quantities. And that would say that the speed of the source is equal to omega times the radial distance from the center of its circular orbit. And with this equation, then I'll call it equation 2, we could substitute 2 into 1. So we'd have F high is equal to F naught V over V minus omega R. And then we could go about calculating. So we've got the numbers that we need to plug into that. And so we have F high is equal to F naught V over V minus Vs. With F naught is equal to 600 hertz or 600 inverse seconds times V, the speed of sound, which is 343 meters per second, divided by 343 meters per second, minus the speed of the source, which was omega R. And omega was 10 pi over 3 rads per second times r, which is 1 meter. And then calculating that frequency, we come to 619 hertz, which is 620 hertz to two significant figures. And then we run through the same calculation for the low pitch frequency that we'll hear when the sound box is moving away from us. And this time we choose the positive sign in the denominator of our Doppler effect equation. And so for this, we would again have 600 hertz for F naught. Speed of sound is still 343. And the only difference in the denominator is we're now adding the second term. And so that calculates to be two significant figures, 580 hertz. So the sound box is going to sound like a higher pitch when it's coming towards us and a lower pitch when it's moving away from us. And that's an equation that you'll get practice with when you work homework problems. And it is an equation that you don't have to memorize. It's given on the equation sheet, but you'll want to know how to use it for working problems either on the homework or on the exam. And with that, I'll give you a lecture quiz question on the Doppler effect, and that will end Chapter 16. So Chapter 16 was an introduction to mechanical waves, and we covered both an example of transverse waves, which is a wave on a string, and then also longitudinal waves in the form of sound waves.